Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvellously well. In this episode, we're going to be trying out a brand new reverb from iZotope. iZotope, as you know, do some very clever plugins, so it's quite exciting to see what they've done. Plus, of course, they're giving us 3 copies to give away, and if you're watching this on Friday, October the 2nd, this is actually the release day for the plugin. So very exciting indeed. I'm excited to try this. It is something they're talking about with AI technology. And before we all get started, because everybody says it's a catchphrase, it is a catchphrase to talk about AI and machine learning. We do talk about this. However, I think it's justified in the way they're talking about it. Because what they are going to do is they're going to take some of the EQing into account. Meaning, if I feed, say, a vocal, a drum, whatever it is into it, it is going to rebalance the reverb EQ as well as what it thinks is the right length of time for the source material. You know, something super percussive, it's probably going to have a shorter time, especially if it's very fast tempo, etc., etc. But it's also going to deal with the EQ, so it doesn't create build-up in certain frequencies that are maybe already inherent in, say, a vocal with lots of low mids or something like that. So let's try it out, see how it is. Don't forget, of course, you can enter down here to win 1 of 3 copies. Thank you, iZotope, for allowing us to do that. And of course, if you haven't already, please hit the like button and subscribe. And of course, if you go to producelikeapro.com, you can sign up for the email list and get a whole bunch of free goodies. Okay, first things first, let's check out the thing that everybody wants to know. Yes, it's sizable. Okay, that's good. That's always a thing that these days everybody is, pretty much demanding, is that you can size, and I like that. Dry wet, make sure it's up to 100% wet because we got this on its own auxiliary. Nice. We got 3 completely independent reverbs here. We got a reflections, which is going to be a short space. Let's have a listen to that.
It's the lonely that chills my bones.
Nice.
And it's the sky.
And then we've got a plate.
It's the lonely that chills my bones. And it's the skies that hide the truth.
And then last but no means least, a hole.
It's the lonely that chills.
So, interesting thinking here. It's essentially the way that we think. You've got a short reverb, sort of reflections they're calling it, because sometimes I want the vocal to be super dry, but I don't really want it to be totally dry. I want it to feel like it's in a very small room, and that makes sense on an a cappella or something that has got very limited instrumentation, which in this case is like a piano and a single string line.
Can't forget I passed love, can't live regretting it all. Our mistakes won't worth them.
I can put the plate in a bit.
Can't forget I passed love.
Nice. And then the hole.
Can't forget.
Okay, and then we can blend between it. So we can go reflections here, which makes me want to look over here. Wow. Okay, so it looks like we can pretty much automate everything here. So you can have some real fun automating all of the different settings.
Can't forget.
So I want a shorter reflection here.
Past love, can't live regret.
Nice here. Looking down here, you've got a pre-EQ, and then you've got EQ on the reverb itself. Let's put this back in the center. So we've got a blend of all 3. With the plate here, you can change it to a medium chamber and a room. It's nice. Let's have a listen what the difference is between those.
Can't forget I passed love, can't live regretting it all.
That's the plate. See the medium chamber.
Can't forget I passed love.
Nice. And here's the room.
Can't forget I passed love.
Turn up a bit.
Can't live regretting it all.
Go back to that plate.
Can't forget. Can't forget.
And then we have all of these different features here. I just click that little arrow. I'll do it one more time. Little triangle, I should say. We've got time controls on all of them, size controls, diffusion, attack, crossovers. So basically tone controls here, which is interesting. So you can dampen it. Oh, I see. Here's the crossover frequency. Okay, interesting. But obviously I can go into the pre-EQ, and if I wanted to, I could, you know, get rid of... Oh, here's the cue down here. Okay. Oh, I like that. Oh, interesting. Just in the cue like this. Ah. Oh, look, I can change the slope. So I can turn... Oh, very nice indeed. Oh, so I can make this into a little Abbey Road EQ.
Can't forget.
Oh, wow.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live.
Okay, I don't know what I just did, but that's freaking awesome. I'm going to put this into pre-fade so I can mute the vocal and have a listen. Fantastic. We haven't even gone to the AI stuff here, but needless to say, it's a good sounding reverb, isn't it?
Can't forget.
Turn that off. And then, so you can just turn that on and off here. Got the EQ reverb, click that on.
Can't forget.
Oh, super responsive.
Can't forget.
Let's sweep around. Sweep, sweep, sweep. No, super responsive.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live regretting.
Wow, this is incredibly responsive.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live regretting.
Some modulation over here.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live regretting it all. Our mistakes won't worth making.
Wow.
I couldn't help myself.
So it looks like the vertical is the depth. So this is the depth. And the horizontal, if you see the R down here, is the rate. So I can mess around with this.
Can't forget
Oh, yeah.
our past.
You know, I love doing that, like sending like a modulated signal into a reverb. So there's a bit of separation, so it doesn't glue itself quite so much around the lead vocal. It's a really nice trick.
Can't forget
Put it somewhere in about here.
our past love. Can't live regretting it all. Our mistakes won't worth making. I couldn't help myself in love I've been bound.
It's a really nice sounding reverb.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live regretting it.
This song is sort of retro soul, R&B, you know, and so a bit of extra over-the-top reverb isn't necessarily a bad thing. Let's go to the chorus.
It's the darkness that hurts the most. It's the lonely that chills my bones. And it's the sky.
So let's try out some of the AI functions. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting. So I've got a reverb assistant up here. Let's press it. Okay, so I've got realistic to dramatic. So I got medium size, extra small, extra large. It's set to 100% wet, dry wet, so that's good. Clean, dark, bright, airy. Wow, you can really get in there. Let's do dark. See if we can make it like old-fashioned sounding. So dark, medium. Let's go large. So we're going to go to a large, dark. It says play audio and begin.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Next. Cleaning up any input signal by creating custom pre-EQ curves. Unmasking compared wet and dry signal.
And it's the skies that hide the truth.
Interesting. It's dark.
And forget our past love.
Turn it up.
Can't live regretting
Oh, yeah.
it all. our mistakes won't worth make it.
So it's done some low mid cut, which is not really surprising because she's like, can't forget. I mean, she's got a lot of body in her voice. They've done a pre-EQ. Oh, yeah, so they've taken off all the high end, but we did specify dark, so that's not surprising. But the reverb EQ here, cutting the low mids, is, you know, it's the intelligent part where it's decided to remove some of that because otherwise there'd be too much of a build-up between the original source vocal low mids and that. So I get that.
Forget
Hasn't applied any modulation.
past love, can't live regretting.
Just amount of effect.
Our mistakes won't worth make.
Oh, I see. So it's going up to the amount of applied EQ, what it's suggesting, and
Bound to fall. It's the darkness that hurts.
now, of course, I can move it between.
It's the lonely that chills my bones, and it's the scars that hide the truth. But it's my heart that makes me run.
Let's try on a different instrument. Let's try out some of this AI technology on the different instrument. Now, this is interesting because I got a live drum kit going on, but there's a lot of other elements in here. So
That's all I know. Turn your back on loving now. Tearing up my heart into pieces into the ground. You let them fall. It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that shields my bones.
So a little drum kit in there, very small snare, you can tell. Let's go to the snare verb. What I'm using at the moment is a very kind of sculpted mid-range snare. Let's have a listen. No drum samples were harmed in the recording of this snare. So that's the reverb I've got. Let's turn off the compressions, turn off the reverb I was using, and go and grab the iZotope. Let's remember to set this to 100% wet. So it's only effect. So here's the presets. Clean snare plate. Let's see what that sounds like. Super big dark snare. Wow. She drives me crazy. Wow. I'm just listening to it because it's insane. Love it. The EQ on these things is so powerful. Let's go back up. Acoustic snare tail. Clean snare plate. That clean snare plate's pretty nice, but I might want to darken it a little bit. It's maybe a little bit too bright. But anyway, let's try the Reverb Assistant. We'll go to large. We'll go clean. Should we go dark? Let's keep it clean, so presumably that means fairly flat. Realistic or dramatic? Let's go realistic. Try and make it feel like it's a natural sounding reverb. Play audio. So it's gone like super into the reflections. All right, I like that, but it's too bright, too small for me. So let's try another one. So this time I'll keep it on the medium, but I'm going to go dark. I'm going to leave the style in the middle. And crazy. What have they done? Those crazy reflections. It's in the track.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
I like it.
And it's the lonely that shields my bones. It's the scars that hide the truth. But it's my heart that makes me run.
If you're in the academy, you know you can mix this song. This is actually one I think we mixed in the academy. So it's a great, great track.
The darkness that hurts the most. And it's the lonely.
I like that. Never would have thought that way. So it's quite powerful because it's doing things I wouldn't normally do. They've got another dip where there must be some low mid build up. It's just taking it a little bit. So it's not adding to that and giving too much. Very, very smart, saving you a bit of time. So that's kind of interesting because if nothing else, it's going to do a couple of quick, EQ moves from you. If you wanted, obviously, to be bigger, you could go to the larger reverb sizes like this. So, and then, of course, you can take the reverb EQ, which it's already intelligently ducked a little bit. It looks like it's... And you could brighten if you wanted to. The reality is there's all kinds of fun things you can do, but it's doing some smart stuff for you. I like this. We've got this 12 string here. I'm having fun trying on this on different stuff. I did quite a lot of work to this on the original mix. I boosted the high mids, and then I compressed it, and then I used a sort of, a narrow-ish reverb. So let's see, with these 3 plugins I've got, let's see if we can mimic it and maybe make it better just using one plugin. So you saw what I was going for. I was going for a high, middly kind of bright thing. So let's get the Reverb Assistant. Let us, first of all, let's put it onto 100%. Dry wet. Let's go dramatic. Let's go large. Let's go bright. I won't go airy yet. And let's see what we've got. Wow. See what that sounds like in the track.
Darkness that hurts the most. And it's the lonely that shields my bones. It's the sky.
Little cut here. Let's make that more dramatic. Oops, sorry. Like this. There you go.
Darkness that hurts.
Nice. I love that little explosion going on the snare there. That's interesting. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the original reverb and see what I got.
Darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that shields.
Now see what we did with the Neoverb.
Darkness that hurts the most.
It's more definition. So there you go. So I used 3 plugins to get the acoustic arpeggio to sort of sparkle a little bit, push the high mids. I did 3 things. I just did the same thing with 1 plugin. So that's really cool. A nifty little tool. And of course, you can win one of 3 copies. I'm sure they're doing a demo of this. It came out today. Go try it yourself. I do like this idea. I feel like this is very forward thinking, isn't it? As much as I love beautiful old vintage equipment. It does get a little bit exhausting that you have to buy 15 different things. I mean, the idea of maybe doing it all in one apparatus, one plugin is pretty nifty. This sounds really nice. I suppose let's try it on one more thing before I get too carried away. The piano could do with a little extra, I think. Just a little shade more. See, the piano's dark. Let's go realistic, keep it medium. I think clean. Let's just hear what it sounds like clean. Remember to put the dry wet on 100%. Again, it's doing some interesting cuts around the low mids, a little bit higher up this time, and a little bit closer to the pure mid range here, and a little bit in the high mids. I want to put a bit of chorusing on. Muting it. Pretty awesome. It's starting to feel more like a piano in a room. Let's have a listen.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that shields my bones. It's the scars that hide the truth, but it's my heart that makes me run right back to you.
You know, something that's going to do a little bit of intelligent EQing is never going to be a problem for me. And if I want it to be brighter or darker, I've got the EQ there before. I couldn't believe how dramatic the EQ can be. And that gives me whole other ideas. The modulation on that is pretty interesting. Oh, this modulation is really subtle. There it is. The smooth control is pretty crazy. Turn it off. Oh, very interesting. I cranked up the pre-delay. Turn it off. I think what this is going to do, starting to get into like using that little modulation there a little bit, changing the pre-delay, using that smooth control, and it seems to compact it in more around there, is I'm going to start getting into doing very subtle things with sources and maybe putting them a little bit more into a room. We've talked about that with a few different plugins. When you're using virtual instruments, one of the biggest issues is the randomization of things, i.e. everything is so perfectly recorded in this wonderful virtual instrument you got. So I like the randomizing things, but also everything is like super dry and super perfectly in a place. So we're looking for these kind of things to just, like that now, that small amount of reverb that's on there. Mute it. Bring it back on. It's just creating a little bit of extra room around that piano.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that shields my bones.
This could get me very obsessed. But I like this. I like this. There's been lots of things we've been talking about over the last maybe 6 months now about this, about being able to just kind of mess things up a little, maybe, you know, saturations, distortions, modulations, so it doesn't quite sound quite so perfect. and sound like exactly the same as everybody else's stuff. This also, I think, is going to help us a lot because we're going to just be able to put a little bit of room around things, give it a space so there's something unique to listen to. I think sound designers in particular will love this. Imagine you're mixing like dialogue with instrumentation and different stuff. You want to start kind of making everything seem like it's in a place. You won't just open a reverb and dump everything into it. You're going to want to create something, around an object so it feels like it's in a certain area. Very, very smart. I think this will be a huge tool for sound designers as well as mixers. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please check out the other reverb video that we did a week or two ago. It's absolutely fantastic. There's a link down there. Go check it out. And of course, enter to win one of 3 copies. Thank you, iZotope, for letting us try out the Neoverb and giving one of 3 copies away. You know what to do. There's a link down there in the description down below. Enter to win. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll speak to you all again very, very soon.